But our kids are back in school. Are we slow to innovate in education? Like, can we do a better job for our kids? One group says yes and is innovating how we teach our kids to read. Now, start of September today, is National Literacy Month. And learning to read, of course, is the foundation which all future lessons are based on. But are we teaching young students in the best way? Katharine Campbell is the director of Grove's Literacy Partnerships. She's joining us this morning. Hi, Katharine. How are you?
Good morning, Corey.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was kind of reading about your group and reading how you do things differently. The curriculum at Grove's Literacy Partnerships, it sounds like it's based on a logical sequence. Can you explain what that means?
You're right. It is, Corey. It's based on the science of reading, which tells us that we should be teaching this in a logical and systematic way. And what that means is we teach students to first learn to blend three sounds, like a word like sip or cat. And then the next concept they learn is to read four sounds in a word like slip or send. So every concept that's taught is built on what's been previously taught and students have mastered.
What's interesting, because my kids are at this age now. Our 6-year-old is really learning to read and doing a nice job of it, and our twins right behind are starting to catch on, and there always seems to be, and I don't know if this is a foundation to what you guys teach as well, but it seems like there's sight words, right? There's always sight words. It's like those are either, I don't know if they're just memorized in the brain or something like that, but those kind of become the early foundations of a lot of, at least that's from my perspective as a dad, that I haven't really studied it, but it seems like sight words it seems like that would be important to a foundation too.
Yeah, and what the teacher is doing there is teaching those students to recognize those early words so that they can start using those words and reading and putting passages together. So, really, in our language, only 10% of the words that we call sight words don't follow the rules of our language. So, yes, in the beginning, children are going to be learning a lot of sight words, but in addition to that, we're teaching them the rules of our language so that they really understand why a word is spelled that way or what that word says when they see it in a book.
Yeah, we got Katharine Campbell here, director of Grove's Literacy Partnerships. So, Katharine, what makes your curriculum different from what's being taught currently in most schools?
So what we're teaching is something very foundational to what children need to learn. And we are teaching these skills in that systematic way that I talked about. A lot of times in curriculum that are in schools, sometimes those phonics rules are embedded. So, for example, if the story that week is about a boat, the students are going to be learning that OA concept, that OA says the long O sound. And it really is based on whatever the story is for that week in the curriculum.
Mm-hmm. Katharine, we got a bad connection. Can we try to get you back? It seems like it's really cutting out. It's hard to hear. Let's drop Katharine for a second. Let's see if we can't get her back. Have her call right back, because it just seems to be fading here, and it's hard to kind of understand here, and I'd like to continue on with the conversation. Again, she's Katharine Campbell, director of Grove's Literacy Partnerships, and you can learn more, grovesacademy.org. And I think it's incredibly important to at least to raise the questions and say, like, okay, we've done something, and this isn't just about reading or education, but there's a lot of things that we can look at and say, all right, we've done it this way for a long time. That sounds great. But is there a different way? Is there a way that we can do this in a better way or more efficient way? So let's try Katharine again, Katharine Campbell. Katharine, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, good. Sounds better. Here, let's give this another try. So you were talking about the curriculum and how it's different from what's being taught in schools. What about this? What kind of results are you seeing here at Grove's Literacy Partnerships in the work and some of the subtleties and differences that you do through this logical sequence?
So that's a great question, because last year we collected data on all the students in our partner schools, reading assessments fall, winter, and spring. And what we found fall to spring is that of the students that tested in the fall in the high risk category, so they were reading somewhere between the 1st and 10th percentile for their grade level, over a third of them moved out of that high risk range. And in fact, 15% of them moved from high risk to the average range last year. And that's in a COVID year when, instruction was interrupted throughout the school year.
Mm-hmm. So I know there are standards, right? Like standards for schools, and are you working with Minnesota schools?
We work with not only schools in the Twin Cities, but in greater Minnesota. This year we're going to be in more than 60 partner schools. That's 400 plus classrooms. All of our classrooms are using our curriculum. And yes, so we're bringing, what we do is bring the Groves Literacy Framework into all of those classrooms. It's good literacy instruction. It's our curriculum. And then we're collecting data to make sure that everybody is moving at the pace they should be moving through the school year. And if somebody all of a sudden starts to struggle, immediately we're putting some additional instruction in front of them so that they can really get caught back up. And by the time they're at the end of 3rd grade, they can transition from just learning to read to now reading to learn.
Yeah, and that's such a good. Yeah, and that's such a good point too. What you bring up is that one noticeable difference I've witnessed as dealing with schools now, and our kids are first in kindergarten, from when I was there, and maybe these conversations were happening and I just didn't realize them, but the conversations we're having now are more, okay, we understand that kids learn differently, and it's our job to meet them where they're at and to meet their needs. And I think that's an important distinction. It's not, hey, it's this way or the highway. No, it's like, no, look, it's our job to help, bring people along, and some people learn this way or some people are more visual and all that. And I think that's really important too. I guess with your curriculum, and I just want to circle back here, how unique is your curriculum with Groves Literacy Partnerships? And then, because we were kind of cutting out there earlier, how is it different from what's being taught in the majority of schools, or at least traditionally in schools?
Well, our curriculum is unique in that it really aligns with the science of reading, and also what the latest research is on reading, as well as what's happening in children's brains as they read. There are other programs out there like ours, but what we did that made ours unique was we made it really teacher friendly. We know that kindergarten through 3rd grade teachers are planning for 5 or 6 subjects every day, and so our lesson plans are there for them, which reduces their prep time. Our goal is that by the end of 3rd grade, they're really strong, proficient readers. Kindergarten through 2nd grade, they're going to learn the rules of our language. And 3rd grade in our curriculum is a transitional time where we are helping them make that transition of, how do I use my reading now to access textbooks and science and social studies and be able to, figure out what that math word problem is asking me to do.
That's really good too, because I know our teachers, they're always asked to do more. It's like, hey, do more in your day, do more, and then it just piles on. And I think it's important to be like, look, we gotta make sure that they're being helped too.
Right, and that was really one of our intents, because we know that there's only a limited amount of time for them during the day that they can prep for their lessons, and a lot of times they get pulled away because a child needs them or needs some help. So we wanted to make it as easy and user-friendly as we could.
Yeah, very good. Katharine Campbell, I'm glad we had this conversation today. Thanks for taking time.
Thank you.
Yeah, grovesacademy.org if you want to learn more about it. September is National Literacy Month. You remember the first...